Pleasant greetings to you. Jesus told the Samaritan woman by the well, "Everyone who drinks this water will be thirsty again, but whoever drinks the water I shall give will never thirst. The water I shall give will become in him a spring of water welling up to eternal life." So let's talk about human thirst.
William Long Lavishu, American journalist, describes his journey across the Sahara Desert in his book Sahara Unveiled, A Journey Across the Desert. He says that dehydration, not starvation, kills wanderers in the desert. He asserts that thirst is the most terrible of all human sufferings. He narrates the story of Lak Lak, an Algerian guide and his assistant. They were crossing the desert when their truck broke down. As their bodies dehydrated, they became willing to drink anything to quench their terrible thirst. The sun forced them into the shade under the truck, where they dug a shallow trench. Day after day they lay there. They had food but did not eat, fearing it would magnify the thirst. Lak Lak progressed from eudipsia, ordinary thirst, through bouts of hyperdipsia, meaning temporary intense thirst, to polydipsia, sustained excessive thirst, which is the kind of thirst that drives one to drink anything, including urine and blood. Long Lavishu's mention of these levels of thirst is interesting. I would like now to apply these categories onto the human needs human beings thirst for. To do this, we shall refer to Abraham Maslow, an American psychologist and philosopher. In his work Motivation and Personality, Maslow argues that each person has a hierarchy of needs that must be satisfied. The needs include physiological needs, safety needs, needs for love or belonging, needs for self-esteem, needs for self-actualization, and the need for self-transcendence.
Let us apply levels of thirst unto our human needs according to Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs that must be satisfied. So the first to tackle is eudipsia.
The three levels of thirst. The first is eudipsia. Eudipsia is ordinary normal thirst. It comes from the Greek prefix eu, meaning good, and the word dipsa, meaning thirst. Literally it is good thirst, a sensation we all normally experience of dryness in the mouth related to a need or desire to drink. On a larger plane, this normal thirst in human beings may come from what Maslow identifies as the first two basic needs, namely, physiological and safety need. As such, these are personal needs. Physiological needs include foods, shelter, water, air, and clothing. Safety needs include security in life, a desire to be safe from all dangers and to ensure a life without any uncertainty. While eudipsia is harmless thirst for these aforementioned needs, where we choose to look for their satisfaction can mean life or death. Let us look at this example. Ludwig van Beethoven. In October 2000, Dr. William J. Walsh, a scientist from Illinois, suggested that Beethoven may have poisoned himself, after studying strands of hair from the body of the famous classical composer. Walsh discovered that Beethoven's body had 100 times the normal amount of lead. He concluded that Beethoven's untimely death at the age of 57 was due to lead poisoning. Beethoven's lead poisoning may have been due to many factors. One speculation was his doctor's application of lead-containing medicines to an already severely lead-poisoned man, says Walsh. Others speculate that, as a young man, he drank water with high concentrations of lead at a spa. Lead or no lead, his heavy alcohol consumption definitely resulted to cirrhosis of the liver. Unknowingly, the very things he thought were bringing him physiological relief, and psychological well-being, were actually slowly poisoning him to death.
Abraham Maslow identifies our first two basic needs as psychological and safety needs. Eudiphia is ordinary normal thirst. Eudiphia is personal. Physiological needs include foods, shelter, sex, heat, water, air, and clothing. Safety needs include security in life, a desire to be safe from all dangers, and to ensure a life without uncertainty. While eudiphia is generally harmless thirst for those aforementioned needs, where we choose to look for their satisfaction can mean life or death. Kaya let us be careful pa rin. This eudipsic thirst is equivalent to eros love or paghahangad, our need love. So, what is Jesus' water of life prescription number 1 for this Lenten season and the rest of our lives? Fasting. Fasting is primarily the act of willingly abstaining from some or all food, drink, or both for a period of time. Of course, fasting curbs our natural personal cravings. The second level of human thirst is hyperdipsia.
The second level of thirst is hyperdipsia. Hyperdipsia, according to Stedman's Medical Dictionary, is intense thirst that is relatively temporary. On a larger plane, this temporary or temporal thirst may come from the next two basic needs, identified by Maslow, namely, love and relationship need, and the need for self-esteem. As such, these are interpersonal needs, or social needs. These refer to the human thirst to be loved, and be related to others, as well as the basic thirst to be affirmed of one's self-worth. Jennifer Strange, 28, mother of 3, died trying to win a Nintendo console for her children. In January 2007, a radio station in Sacramento, California, staged a water drinking contest, promising a Nintendo Wii video game system to the person whose bladder held out the longest. Strange did her best, but she didn't win the contest. Furthermore, several hours after the contest, Jennifer left work with a terrible headache. Later that day she was found dead in her house. An autopsy revealed that too much water had disrupted the electrolyte balance in her blood. Jennifer Strange literally died of water intoxication. This is no judgment of Strange or her needs. We cite her story in order to serve each of us a simple reminder. Hyperdipsia is harmless, but the intense passion that accompanies the search to satisfy social hyperdipsia, or personal eudipsia, should be well guarded.
Hyperdipsia is temporary intense thirst. Hyperdipsia is relational, social, interpersonal. Hyperdipsia is harmless and may very well apply to the next two basic needs in Maslow's hierarchy: love and relationship needs, and self-esteem needs. As such, these are interpersonal needs or social needs. But the intense passion that accompanies the search to satisfy social hyperdipsia or personal eudipsia should be well guarded. This corresponds to the second stage of love, philia kind of love, or pagmamahal kind of love. So, what is Jesus' water of life prescription number 2 for this hyperdipsic thirst? Almsgiving. Almsgiving is a religious rite which, in general, involves giving materially to another as an act of religious virtue. Indeed, almsgiving purifies our interpersonal relations. The third level of human thirst is polydipsia.
The third phase of thirst is polydipsia. Polydipsia is a medical symptom in which the patient displays sustained excessive or abnormal thirst. In the absence of water, polydipsia can have a very compelling power on the hapless individual, as the story of Lak we mentioned. Going back to the Sahara Desert story, Radiator Water was what Lak and his assistant started drinking during the polydipsia phase. Longlevishu noted that, in order to survive, they were willing to drink poison. On a larger plane, this excessive thirst may come from man's need to self-actualize, and the need to self-transcend. Simply put, one needs to become what one is capable of becoming, to go beyond one's current limitations, and to strive for wholeness or holiness. And, self-transcendence is the need to relate to a bigger being or reality than the self. Centuries earlier, Saint Irenaeus already described this primordial need for man to become God's glory, to be fully human and fully alive. Indeed, man needs to go beyond himself and journey towards God. But, in the absence of God in one's thirst, this intense search for meaning can lead him to fill the gaping God-size hole with any of the 7 deadly sins, namely, lust or extravagance, gluttony, greed, sloth, wrath, envy and pride. Remember that one of the top reported reasons for alcohol or drug abuse is that people are looking to fill an emotional hole. Other deadly ways of filling this up include overeating, promiscuous behavior, overworking, or through anger, jealousy or depression. Unfortunately, these thirst quenchers are in reality spiritual poisons, dangerous substitutes for the living water that Jesus promises.
Polydipsia is sustained, excessive or abnormal thirst. I say that polydipsia is also transpersonal and metaphysical. What do I mean by that? Well, I suspect that polydipsic abnormal thirst may come from the highest basic needs which Maslow identifies as self-actualization need and self-transcendence need. Now, to self-actualize is actually to develop or achieve one's full potential. This highest level of needs requires, therefore, for a human being to understand oneself and see the value in oneself. He tries to find himself through religion and his spiritual guidance. That is why I describe it as transpersonal, that is, going beyond your own person alone, and metaphysical, that is, going beyond one's physical thirst, a thirst for God. Maslow says that this is the area that is most meaningful in a human being's life. Polydipsic thirst corresponds to our self-actualization need, the need to become more and more what one is, the need to become what one is capable of becoming. Polydipsic thirst also responds to our self-transcendence need, to go beyond our current limitations, to strive for wholeness, for holiness, to achieve our telos, our purpose in life. This definitely corresponds to our need for the third and highest kind of love, agape love, pag-ibig, or the indwelling, pakikiisa kind of love. So, what is Jesus' water of life prescription number 3 for this polydipsic thirst? Prayer. Saint Gregory of Nyssa, a father of the church, says, prayer is communing and conversing with God. Indeed, prayer transforms us into well springs of life. Let us close this sharing with this story.
The story is told of a young student who went to a spiritual teacher and asked the question, "Master, how can I truly find God?" The teacher asked the student to accompany him to the river which ran by the village, and invited him to go into the water. When they got to the middle of the stream, the teacher said, "Please immerse yourself in the water." The student did as he was instructed, whereupon the teacher put his hands on the young man's head, and held him under the water. The student began to struggle. The master held him under, still. A moment passed and the student was thrashing and beating the water and air, with his arms. Still, the master held him under the water. Finally, the student was released and shot up from the water, lungs aching and gasping for air. The teacher waited for a few moments and then said, "When you desire God as truly as you desired to breathe the air you just breathed, then you shall find God." The lesson is straightforward but deep. For a person who quenches his earthly and material eudipsic and hyperdipsic thirsts with nothing but material and temporal solutions, when polydipsic thirst strikes, unknowingly, he will be most willing to take even poison. So, we offer a 3 living water spiritual dietary regimen. Fasting, to curb our natural personal cravings. Almsgiving, to purify our interpersonal relations. And prayer, to allow the living waters of God to transform us into well springs of life and love for others.
Remember, for a person who quenches his earthly and material eudipsic and hyperdipsic thirsts with nothing but material and temporal solutions, when polydipsic thirst strikes, unknowingly, he or she will be most willing to take even poison. Please develop that polydipsic thirst only for God. May God bless you.